The Time Traveler's Wife is a story that blends two genres that seemingly contradict each other, romance and science fiction. However, what makes this book incredibly powerful is how Audrey Niffenegger manages to create a deeply emotional and human story despite the presence of an impossible concept like time travel. The story begins by introducing Henry de Tamble, a man who suffers from a rare medical condition that causes him to randomly time travel without control or choice over the events he experiences. He can be in the past or the future, often in very disorienting situations. On the other hand, we meet Clare Absher, a woman who falls in love with Henry from a young age and must live with the fact that her husband can disappear at any moment without warning. While the premise of the story involves fantastical elements, like time travel, the heart of this book is about human relationships, about love that is unstoppable, about how we face the uncertainty of life, and about how we come to terms with fate, even when it feels unfair. Before delving into the themes of the book, let's take a closer look at the two central characters that form the core of this story. Henry and Clare are two individuals with vastly different life experiences. Henry, who suffers from a chronodegenerative disorder, a medical condition that causes him to randomly time travel, is a man trapped in an unpredictable cycle of time. For much of his life, he struggles with questions of identity and existence because nothing in his life is within his control. Often, he feels alienated, both from others and from himself. Henry is intelligent, witty, but also deeply troubled, as he never knows when he will get stuck in the past or future. On the other hand, Clare is a woman who grows up with feelings of loss and separation from her husband, who constantly vanishes. As a young girl, Clare meets the older Henry, a man who is already established and struggling with his medical condition. Yet Clare falls in love with Henry from the moment they meet, and she is willing to accept all the uncertainties that come with being with him. Their relationship is full of sacrifice, because while they deeply love each other, the reality of living in a world where they live in different times brings great emotional challenges. The dynamic between Henry and Clare is at the heart of this book. They love each other, but there are significant obstacles in building a stable life together. The uncertainty of Henry's time travel affects nearly every aspect of their lives, from major decisions like marriage to small, everyday choices. One of the main themes in The Time Traveler's Wife is love that transcends time. Not a love that is easy, but one that is full of challenges and difficulties.
Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.
Niffenegger asks a crucial question. How can love endure when time is unpredictable, and when we know that we will lose the one we love? In many ways, the relationship between Henry and Clare is a journey against fate. They did not choose to live under these conditions, where Henry has no control over his time travel. Yet, even though they are separated by time, they fight hard to build a life together. Clare, although aware that their time together is limited and filled with uncertainty, tries to make every moment with Henry count. On the other hand, Henry, though he feels the pain and uncertainty of his condition, strives to be there for Clare, even though his presence is often fleeting. This book explores the idea of fate, a huge theme that involves love that seems unbreakable, even though so many factors cannot be predicted or controlled. Both characters must learn to accept the reality they face, and to find meaning in every moment they share together. Despite living in an uncertain world, they choose to love each other. Time travel in The Time Traveler's Wife is not just a narrative tool, but also functions as a metaphor for many of the larger concepts in life. Niffenegger doesn't just use time travel as a science fiction device. She uses it to explore existential themes like identity, memory, and human connection. In this story, time is not a linear progression. For Henry, time is irregular and random. He can be in the future, suddenly find himself in the past, and then back to the present. This creates a sense of alienation in him, as he feels like he cannot truly belong to the world he inhabits. He is trapped in time that he cannot control. Clare, on the other hand, has a very different experience. From the moment she meets Henry, she has to come to terms with the fact that the man she loves is not always the same Henry. The Henry who is in her present often isn't the Henry from her memories. Time travel makes her life incredibly complex, because she is forced to understand that the man she loves is not always physically or temporally present. Time in this story functions as a challenge and a barrier to connection, yet it also becomes a reminder of the fragility of love and relationships. Henry and Clare must learn to live in the present and to accept the moments they have, because they cannot control time. Like many love stories, the time traveler's wife speaks about loss, the loss of the one we love, and how we must learn to live with that loss. In the context of Henry and Clare's relationship, loss is a recurring and unavoidable theme. Henry disappears randomly, and Clare must learn to live with the reality that her husband may never be present in the same time and space as her.
Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.
However, despite the constant threat of loss, both characters continue to try to build a life together. Their love is not perfect, but it is a love built on sacrifice, showing that even though their world is separated by time, there are greater things, like love and commitment, that continue to bind them together. To close, The Time Travelers. Wife is a story about time that cannot be controlled and how we choose to love, despite the lack of guarantees. It is a reflection on how we live in a world full of uncertainty, and how we can find meaning in every moment, even though we know that time is limited. Henry and Clare teach us that, even though time can stop or move in ways we don't desire, love is a force that can overcome those barriers. Even though they cannot control when their time together will end, they choose to live fully in every moment they have. This story reminds us that true love is about accepting each other, even when we know that life is short and full of uncertainty. Love and time, two things we cannot control, are the heart of the time traveler's wife, and that is a lesson we can all carry with us. As we reflect on the time traveler's wife, we are reminded of the profound complexities of love and time, and the deep emotional resonance that Audrey Niffenegger has captured through her characters. The journey of Henry and Clare is one that explores the fragility of human existence, the permanence of love despite its fleeting moments, and the inevitability of loss. In the end, it's not about the extraordinary phenomenon of time travel itself, but about how we cope with the ordinary moments that define our relationships. Henry's unpredictable time travel may be what sets the stage for this extraordinary love story, but it's Claire's enduring commitment to him and their shared experiences that make their bond truly unforgettable. The story challenges us to think about the time we have with the ones we love and how we use that time to build memories, to grow, and to find meaning in our lives. It reminds us that love transcends time, even when time itself is the one thing we can't control. As we close this reflection, the message is clear. In a world governed by time's relentless march, it is our love for others that makes time meaningful. Just like Henry and Clare, we too must cherish the moments we have, accepting the unpredictable twists that life may throw our way. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the time traveler's wife. I hope this exploration has given you new perspectives on time, love, and the connections that define our lives. Don't forget to reflect on how your own relationships are shaped by the moments you share, and how, just like Clare and Henry, love will always find a way, no matter what time you're in.
Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.